Hey everyone, it's your host, Courtney Turek with Bold Moves, Confident Choices. Time to get real, get bold, and take charge of your future. Guess what? Today's guest is Ellie Brown, and she is someone whose journey embodies fearless decisions and owning her own path. Before I pass it over to Ellie, a little background about her is she has spent over 3 decades in sales. She's considered a connector of people, and I will tell you, this woman has never met a stranger. The past 8 years, she's been lobbying for health protective laws and the personal care space, which is so needed for all of us. And she is 0.4% of the top brand advocates for Beauty Counter. Another little fun fact about Ellie, her and her sister developed a product that was featured on Shark Tank, similar to me. The really cool thing about Ellie is that we met a year before we both actually filmed on Shark Tank. We happened to be part of the same season, and we built this camaraderie of this journey we both were moving through in the process. I will tell you, and I'm not going to dive into it now, if it wasn't for Ellie and a big moment in my life, I don't know where I would be, because I vividly remember a conversation I had with her when I made a bold move myself, and actually a bold comment. So, hey, I'm going to stop talking now. And so before we dive into the big questions, Ellie, I would love for you to share more about you and your journey behind the bold moves.
I love it. Courtney, it's so good to see you. So Courtney and I have a connection. We're both Hoosiers at heart. So
Yes.
I know you're not there anymore, but we still love you here in Indiana. So like you said, I'm in the business of people, right? So we talked about spending 3 decades in sales, and I started out selling pharmaceuticals, and now I'm helping people with skincare. So a little bit of everything. But I think ultimately what I've realized over the years is that people don't necessarily buy what you're selling. They buy you. And I think a prime example of that is really yours and my experience and being on Shark Tank, right? It's not that,
Yes.
I mean, for us, it's not that we had the coolest product in the world, right? It's just that we had a great story, we had great energy, and just brought a lot to the table. So I just enjoy helping people, working with people, helping them make good choices, no matter what that looks like, and just being real and giving real advice, kind of like maybe we had together some real combos.
For sure. And Ellie, you just said something really powerful at the first part here, and that is people. And people are everything when it comes down to it. And the fact that you put that in your first statement is so mind blowing and so on track with what I think we're all trying to relate on a bigger level.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's the thing that people miss a lot, right? This sounds really terrible, but it's true. Nothing is really about you, right? I mean, of course, there are things that are about,
Right.
but it's about other people and that transfer of
Yes.
energy and how you make them feel, or what kind of problem or solution can you help them solve, or kind of like that. So, yeah, being in the business of people is like always putting people first. And yeah.
Well, okay. So now that we've heard a little bit more about you, Ellie, what was that bold move or confident choice that took things to the next level for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I kind of have to go back a little bit in time to sort of tell you that bold move. So it's interesting because, Courtney, I don't talk about our Shark Tank experience that much. It's almost like it was another lifetime and another body for me, but it really did happen. And so basically, I think that I had a great belief in myself and in my product. And then we had this situation where we were invited to be on Shark Tank and to talk about our products. And we had imagined a scenario where we would either get a deal from an investor like you did with Monkey Mat, or we would get everybody would pass, right? So that was like the binary of what we saw coming. But interestingly enough, that's not what happened at all. We were offered a small amount of money. Well, it's not a small amount of money, but in the scheme of things, a small amount of money to sell our entire business and walk away from our company. And that was not in a million years what my sister and I had ever discussed. And so it was one of those like we weren't planning it, but we are like, okay, can we go talk about it? And we sat in the hall and like, I don't know what to do. What are we going to do? And literally, as we're walking back in, we didn't know what we were going to do. We just knew that we were missing a lot of time with our family, with our kids. And so we were kind of joking, like, well, at least we can go back and spend more time with our kids. So, just being our goofy selves. So ultimately, we did agree to sell our company to Mark Cuban, which was, like I said, an unexpected thing. And it was very emotional. And it brought out, like, I seriously, this is terrible. I was like, what is wrong with those people who go on Shark Tank and cry? What is their problem? It's so weird. So guess who cried on Shark Tank? It was me. Nothing to do really with the outcome, but it had to do with like my sister and my love for her and the thought of like she and I being at a trade show and missing her daughter's first day of kindergarten and all that we sacrificed to do this just to walk away. So it was really emotional, but I say all that to say you never know what kind of edit you're going to get on that show. It is very real, but there are certain times where they'll pull something that somebody said out of context and it looks like maybe it's being a dig at you or something like that. But the sharks are pretty brutal to us. And so afterward, I did a big no. I spent a lot of time reading the trolls, what the
Oh
trolls.
no.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
I didn't know that, Ellie.
I did. I don't know. I'll be curious to know if you did the same thing, although I think you guys were like heroes in all of it, right? It was really great. I mean, the comments, in fact, my 16-year-old and I were reading the comments the other day again, because we were just laughing so hard. It just came up in a conversation, but people were like, this is why women cannot be business owners. These two women are just cringe. What kind of mothers are they? One day their children are going to come and visit them in the nursing home. Women are too emotional. This is the worst idea I've ever seen. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And I mean, ugly things. And Courtney, I let that steal every bit of my joy. That whole experience was chalked up to absolute trolls just saying strange things, not strange things, but giving their unsolicited opinion and not knowing anything about us.
Right.
And for a long time, I was in a funk. I'm a failure, that was a bad idea. What were we thinking? Nobody likes it. And then it happened where I came upon a quote, and I can't remember, like I looked it up to see who first said it, and I think it's attributed to this man, can't remember his name, it was a long time ago in a book, but people often attribute it to Eleanor Roosevelt. I attribute it to Glennon Doyle and just reading an Instagram post that she wrote, and this was kind of my big aha moment. It was, other people's opinions of you are none of your business. Other people's opinions of you are none of your business. And I had to really sit and marinate and like, okay, why have I let other people's things that they say about me define me? That is ridiculous. That's not who I am. And I'm done with this. I am done with this doubt that I experienced. That's not me. That's not how I rolled. I just literally think about that all the time. It has made my skin so much thicker in everything that I do. And there's not a whole lot you can say to me at this point that's going to throw me or upset me or scare me or whatever, because of just really like having that experience and then just doing a complete like 180 of, to heck with all that. Does that make sense?
It completely makes sense. And of course, I remember talking to you after we both filmed on Shark Tank. It's an emotional roller coaster, right? I mean, there are highs and there are lows, and the lows are low and the highs are highs, especially for small companies the size we were.
Yes.
So when was that moment that you heard that quote? Like, how far after your experience and letting this get to your soul that you were able to make that pivot?
I'm going to guess it was a good 3 years. I let myself kind of wallow in that for a while and just kind of live in that self-doubt. And I had started my business with Beauty Counter, which is a direct sales company. And I remember doubting myself in that. I know my worth. I know what I have to offer. I know what Beauty Counter has done for the personal care industry. I know what we've done to change laws in this broken industry. But I would doubt myself. Like, am I supposed to be doing this? Are people going to judge me? Like, worrying about being that person, right? I literally just remember looking at Instagram and seeing that and reading it a few times. And I really, at the time, like, was just getting to know who Glennon Doyle was. And I don't know how much you know about her, but she's pretty hilarious and awesome and amazing. And so I was just like, yeah, I'm going to stop doing that. And it really shifted my focus in the business to just not giving a crap about what other people think of me. And I have something to offer. We all have something to offer. And it is an option on a tray. And if you take it, that's your decision to take it. You have an option. If you don't take it, you know what? That's okay. Some will, some won't, whatever. What's next? And, you know?
Right. You know, I go back to the moment when we were in the thick of Shark Tank, both of us together, and you had very recently left your business and started into the beauty counter world. And I could see that you had this new energy about you. And on the flip side, I was down in the dark. I was in a really dark place myself, Ellie. I will never forget where I was in my house when we were talking on the phone, actually exactly the spot in my office when I said out loud to you that I needed to walk away. Thinking about that moment now brings tears to my eyes because it was the first time I knew deep down inside that I needed to walk away, but saying out loud to you was different. And as you said, the emotions that come with this journey that we were on at Shark Tank are real. To your point, I never thought I'd be crying or it would take me far down as it did, but it took me in a black hole as well.
Yeah. And how long would you say that you were kind of living in that space after having the success that you guys were experiencing? Where was your head?
Yeah, it was probably the last year. So I sold my shares in 2017. So probably for about an entire year. My family was struggling financially. We weren't able to make ends meet. And here I am staring at this business in the face, thinking, this is my American dream. I'm failing. I'm not able to survive. And as you said, it took time to realize that's not the truth. But there is a lot of mind work we have to work through in this process.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. And I mean, I think about you. When you filmed, I'm curious, how far postpartum were you?
Oh my gosh, great question. So, everyone, if you don't know, I was asked to come on Shark Tank when I was supposed to give birth to my son, and they gave me 4 weeks after to show up to LA. So, I was four weeks postpartum, leaving my newborn son with my husband, who is also a child. And I mean, because we're being real here, Ellie, you
Yeah,
know,
the umbilical cord hasn't even fallen off yet.
exactly. I'm breastfeeding and then all of a sudden have to figure out what to do with this milk. I am driving around in a car. I was wondering in Texas why my car smelled because it's 100 degrees. I'm driving around trying to stop this breast milk before I go on national television. So that is the stuff we do as women.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
I take it I never shared that story.
I mean, that's pretty funny because I just think like, thank goodness you weren't standing up there just lactating in your cute pink dress.
I know, but who wants to go on national television 4 weeks after you give birth? Not
That's
me,
the
but there I was.
Yeah, there you were. And you guys had an interesting scenario because you received an offer. You experienced success. You were on like after the episode, like in the follow-up. Here's all the success that Courtney's seeing, and here you feel like you're failing, right? And
Right. Exactly. Because everything that's coming in is going back out for inventory. Let's not talk about we're two people running a company and trying to buy inventory overseas. It's coming back. It's not good. You have orders to deliver. People are telling you that you're ruining their Easter because they didn't get their monkey mat. Like, come on. People, the trolls, Ellie, the trolls.
yes, go choke on a Cadbury egg. Sorry about your Easter.
Okay, so hey, I've got a question for you. Want to make thousands more in your next salary negotiation? If you knew there was a proven system to help you land more money, better benefits, and a total compensation package that reflects your worth, would you take it? The Salary Bump Accelerator is that system. It's packed with everything you need to get out of your head, prepare for your interview like a pro, and negotiate with confidence so you never leave money on the table again. And because you're a loyal listener to Bold Moves Confident Choices, you get 15% off with code BOLD15. That is all caps BOLD15. Go to thesalarybump.com to get started because your next paycheck should be your best one yet. Let's get you paid what you're worth. That moment when you decided, let's go back to that moment when you decided to shift your mindset. How did you keep your mindset at that level of magnitude? Like, how did you keep it up? Because it's an ongoing process from my perspective and experience.
One thing that I did, and I know that you can appreciate this being the amazing coach and mentor that you are, is that I invested in a life coach. And it was a big investment for me, right? Being self-employed was a big chunk of my take-home pay, but I knew that this wasn't just the quote that you could read and then change your mindset, right? There was a
Right.
whole lot of work that had to be done. And let's face it, I mean, life coaches are really just therapists, right? I mean,
Exactly. Exactly. Yes.
yes, I mean, amazing therapists at that. And so I spent probably a good year and a half meeting with this amazing woman regularly. I mean, I had unlimited access to her, and she is such a bold person. She lets nothing get in her way. And she does a lot of work on helping us understand like how our thoughts influence our action and inaction, things that sort of maybe we all know, but we haven't really ingested. And so just changing, when it comes to how you feel about a situation, right? And I'll go back to a platter example, but like there are so many options on a platter of how you can feel about a situation, and you get to choose the ones that you want to pick out and leave the other ones that you don't want, right? And so choosing your own thoughts and owning those and being logical about it and really being curious, like if you are stuck or you're feeling doubtful, like being curious, what is it that is making me feel this way? I'm curious, not like that beating yourself up like I used to do of like, well,
Right.
you know what? This is just not worth it. I'm no good at this. I shouldn't be doing this. And so just kind of adapting that mindset and realizing that all of us have value in
Yes.
anything that we're doing, right? And so I knew that I had something to offer to people. And I understand that we all think differently. And well, it took me a while to understand that. And so I didn't take things personally. If I reached out to you, I'm sure, and was like, hey, Courtney, you're probably running low on your blah, blah. Are you ready to order? And you might have been like, no, I'm good. And, old me would have been like, shoot, she probably hates me. She probably thinks I'm weird. Why did I reach out to her? But, new me is like, okay, she's good. That's great. I'm happy. I'll follow up again, some other time. And like not allowing myself to live in that space of self-doubt. It's just not a good place to be. It's not a good,
No,
you got to get out of that if you're stuck in that because it's a
it's a
downright
dark place.
dark place. Yeah.
Dark
It's
place.
hard. It's hard because it's so bad, Courtney. I don't remember like our exact conversation, but I know that like probably the gist of it, if I'm guessing, like we tie ourselves to things and say
Mm,
that our success is hinged on something. And in your example, it was hinged on your perceived success, right?
of
And
course.
we can't attach our success onto things. It doesn't define us at all. Like we get to decide how we feel, how we interact, how we go about our day. So, yeah.
A great point. Just like you, I don't talk about my Shark Tank experience either much. And people always ask me, why don't you talk about that? It was a part of my journey, but it does not tie me to who I am.
Yeah.
And so I love that point you just made. It's a part of our journey and our story and just making us bigger and better.
And it's interesting because maybe I am judging. See, I'm being curious about that. But I mean, I still am like connected on social media to certain people who maybe their Shark Tank journey seems to be like the thing that they hold on to and everything about them. And I was on Shark Tank and this is my product. And that's, I mean, I don't know, that's okay. But to me, that's just kind of setting yourself up for, I don't know, relying on other people's opinions of you too much.
Right. And I want to circle back around to your beginning statement. It all surrounds people for you. And when you were even sharing about when you would reach out to people with your existing business and they would say, no, I don't need anything. You took it personally. Now you're just letting them be people, respecting their space, respecting who they are, and knowing that if you just put yourself out there, they're going to come back to you when they're ready.
That's absolutely true. And it's another thing too that as you grow kind of into yourself is you start to realize, and maybe you realize this at an early age, Courtney, but like I always assumed that the way that I operate in life and move about in life is how everybody else operates and moves about in life. And that didn't serve me well in my business with my sister because she and I do not think alike. And I would just be so put off by her because she'd be like, well, you know what? Don't send that email because we really need to think about X, Y, and Z. And have you thought about this? And what? And I'm like, girl, shut up. I'll send something now and think about it later. And so I just assumed everybody just kind of like went for it and then figure it out later. And I mean, our relationship was challenged at times, but it's just because, she doesn't think like me. She doesn't operate like me. And I don't always know that in my day-to-day interactions with my sister. But when I think about it, I mean, my gosh, she overthinks everything, like even where to go to dinner. And I'm just like, throw caution to the wind. And, but once you start to learn that people just don't move around and operate in the world like you, it is life-changing. And I don't know about your kid, but like my oldest is an introvert, needs to be in the room to recharge, needs to be alone, doesn't need friends. And I was always so worried. I hope they're okay because, they're not hanging out with their friends every single day. And are you okay, honey? And like, that's because that's how I moved around and operated in the world, right?
Oh,
So,
completely. I have a son very similar, and it's hard for me. It's really
yes.
hard. I'm constantly questioning, is he okay?
And he's fine, right? Like,
He's fine. He's fine.
he
I just have
probably
to let him
got his
be.
energy from hanging out in his room for a minute or whatever that looks like for him. We question ourselves, but I think just having that aha moment of like everybody moves through things differently and appreciating that and respecting where people are really relinquishes you of a lot of that weird feeling or ick that you can feel sometimes or self-doubt that you can feel.
Of not being enough, right? Yeah.
Yes.
I'll admit, I did not know who I was through my Shark Tank experience. And it wasn't until after I'm reflecting and doing the deep work like you've done, removing the layers because the layers continue. You think you're at the bottom of the layer and you're never at the bottom, people, never at the bottom. So completely, I am in line with your movement here, Ellie.
Feel like you've done a 180 too. Like you went from sort of that place of like self-doubt or into this place of like you own your space. Like you are in command of your space, the way that you interact with people, the way that you help people, the way that you like pull it all together. I mean, I'm so just impressed by you and inspired by you. And I think that, an old me probably would have been intimidated by you. But I'm just like, listen, you are amazing. You are not afraid to just go boldly after stuff. And that is just, it's so inspiring to see somebody who kind of moved along a similar path to me in a similar timeline to just see like how you have overcome whatever that was back then into this like amazing, you're doing a podcast. I mean, your videos on Instagram, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to go to church at Courtney. Get it going.
Oh, that's hilarious. Well, Ellie, I feel the same about you. So, something I didn't mention to everyone, and I know we're coming up on time. Ellie is part of a rock band. Oh my gosh. Okay, Ellie, fill me in because I feel like you have also just come into your own. You're bold, your confidence, like somebody that I want to be surrounding myself with, that energy, right? So, okay, come on, tell me about this rock band.
Okay, Reader's Digest version is that a few of us women who are in the band now had kids who were students at School of Rock, which is a performance-based class. And during COVID, it was obviously very challenging. And one of us was just kind of thinking, you know what, why do our kids get to have all the fun? We know that School of Rock teaches adult classes. And so one of them texted a couple of us and said, hey, have you ever thought about like starting an all-women rock band? And I'm like, hell yeah. So, we decided to start taking classes, and none of us had ever picked up our instruments or performed in public or anything like that. And we just said, you know what? We're going to go for it. And we're just going to have fun because you were never too old to stop learning. So I decided I wanted to be the lead singer because why not? Here's the thing. I am not a good singer. I'm not. I'm not going to kill your ears, but I'm not good. But here is what's important. When I go out there, I show up 100% with all the energy that I can. And I know that it is about how you make the crowd feel. And if you go out there and you're timid and you're not sure and you're like, you are going to look ridiculous. So you're better off just being your authentic, okay-ish self and just putting it out there and having fun. And it is a blast. I encourage everyone to start a rock band. It's just, we're all women. We practice, all the time. We perform in bars. Although if a bar owner ever watches this, please stop making people start playing at 9 o'clock at night for 3 hours, especially women. Like we're like
Yeah.
9.
What mom wants 9 p.m.? How about like 6, 5, 4?
You. And do you play for 3 hours? Y'all are crazy. Like nobody wants to sit there for 3 hours. I don't even want to listen to like Red Hot Chili Peppers for that long. So anyway, that's just
Before I ask the last question, what's the name of the band? Everybody has
the
to know that.
Janeways. Yes, the Janeways. So you can go to the janewaysband.com and kind of read a little bit more about us. And it is so much fun to be like, the half of us are in our 50s and the other half are in late 40s. And like, we're just getting started. So fun. Never ever too old to try something new, ever.
It makes me excited. I'm getting all jazz hand over here just for you.
You can be like you could be a backup singer.
Oh, I would love that. I can do that, right?
Yeah,
That's
so
all I have to do.
You can do
Just shimmy. Okay,
Like,
cool. I'm game. I'm game.
yeah.
All right. All right, friends. I want to ask Ellie this last question. And I think everyone needs to reflect on this for themselves. And the question is, what, Ellie, would you tell your 18-year-old self, knowing what you know now?
Wear sunscreen. No, I'm just
No, wear your sunscreen.
You know what? I think I would tell my 18-year-old self to learn to accept when you are wrong, admit when you are wrong, and don't be afraid to admit your mistake, to apologize, and to ask for forgiveness. That was something that was so hard for me to just even like think that, I was like making some kind of mistake when I was younger. And the minute I learned to just be humble and admit when you've done something wrong was so freeing. And it's easy now, but 18-year-old me would have never have done that. So that's what I would tell myself.
That's amazing. So, Ellie, just reflecting on this conversation today, you reminded us that people are everything. Put people first. Mindset is key to our success. Forgive, forget, and be humble. Those are all key attributes we all need to take to heart to help us flow and move through this crazy, amazing world we live. Before I say goodbye, I also want to share with you that Ellie has a new position she's with. Is it called the Olive Tree People?
Yes, Olive Tree People. And we just turned 1 year old here in the US, and we are a 21-year-old German company. And I would love for you to check out what we're doing at Olive Tree People, and you can reach out to me, ask me questions, but we are a waterless skincare company. Remember that term because that is going to be the wave of the future in terms of the next ideation in beauty and skincare.
Awesome. Okay, we need to talk about that offline. And then if people want to reach out to you, Ellie, where's the best way to find you?
You could find me on Instagram. Do you think that's a good place? I don't know.
Yeah. She has a great Instagram account. Absolutely. Look Ellie Brown up on Instagram. Also, you can reach back out to me at Courtney Turek on LinkedIn or Instagram, and I can help connect you to Ellie. But Ellie, again, thank you for being here with me today. You're magical. I love you. I appreciate you. And I'm so glad you're in my life.
Love you too. Thank you for having me.
You are so welcome. Hey, everyone, go be bold, be confident, and be you. Thanks so much for listening in to Bold Moves, Confident Choices. Thanks.